Warning, the RCWR Show with Lee Sanders is intended for a mature audience only. The following is an Infinity One Productions presentation, keeping it honest, insightful, and interactive. Covering the latest in wrestling and beyond since 2011. You're listening to the RCWR Show. Now, your host, live from the nation's capital in Washington, D.C., Lee Sanders.
Hey, what's good, everybody? It is the Tuesday night edition of the... Oh, no. Is it... Yeah, it's Tuesday. Man, I'm getting my days mixed up for some reason. I don't know why. It's a Tuesday night edition of the RCWR Show. I know exactly what it is. You know how many years it's been since we've done a Tuesday night edition of the RCWR Show? No bullshit, but shout out to you if you're a long-time listener. There used to be a time where we actually, on a regular basis, regular schedule time, we'd be on Tuesdays, I think right about this time, if not 10 p.m. we used to come on. Those were the days, man, and we did that for a couple of years. But now we're coming at you live for Tuesday night of April 6, 2021, just a couple of minutes removed from the WWE Hall of Fame ceremony, kicked off at 8 p.m. Eastern. I was pretty ecstatic at that too, because I got off work earlier tonight at 7, and I was just in a rush. You guys have no idea, because I don't know why, but for some reason, I was under the impression the Hall of Fame ceremony began at 7 p.m., so I'm doing everything in my power to just race like a mofo so I wouldn't miss anything, and I load up the Peacock, and like I said, load up Peacock, Lord have mercy. Anyway, I loaded up and I'm like, what's going on? I'm like, where's the Hall of Fame ceremony? I'm ready for this bad boy to start already. I'm like, what's going on? And I get the little message, ceremony will start shortly or soon or whatever. I go on WWE's official website to try to figure out what exactly was going on, and that's how I found out. No, it's actually 8 o'clock it comes on. And I actually was pretty happy about that, because that actually put me in a nice position where me and the missus were actually able to go grab a bite to eat and everything. So pretty much time we grabbed that bite to eat, came on over here back into the house, it pretty much was time for the ceremony. So we got ourselves about just slightly about maybe 2 minutes over as far as the overrun goes of this year's ceremony. And it was a double whammy, as there were a lot of participants that they crammed into the Hall of Fame. You know, look, couple of things just off the break. One thing is, I wish WWE would have done a little bit of a better job letting the audience know, hey, don't go anywhere, stick around, because what you just saw, this is just the first half of our Hall of Fame inductions. The second half of the show is going to come after this brief intermission. I wish they actually would have said that, because the first showing, and that's really how you have to dub it, the first showing of the Hall of Fame ceremony, it went until about 9:30 p.m. on the East Coast. So you're talking about 90 minutes. And once it's over, you're like, that's it? Like, at this point, and I'm glad I actually had the Peacock playing on the TV, because I actually had the remote in my hand after I saw the NWO give their Hall of Fame speech, and I was about to turn off the TV and actually hop on the computer and go live and everything, because I'm going, damn. So we don't get to see Eric Bischoff. We don't get to see Great Khali. We don't get to see Molly Holly. What kind of shit is that? And I was ready to just take WWE to town on that. And I couldn't believe it, because like even my girl, because she actually had wanted to hear what Eric Bischoff had to say. She knew Kane was going in. That was the other thing that was kind of hilarious. It was like, wait a minute, where's Kane? And I actually was getting ready to go into the studio here. And I said, wait a minute. Let me just see something real quick here. Comes on. we're watching it come on again and we're like, okay, all right, this is looking a little redundant. Let's see what goes on here. Let's see what happens here. And sure enough, like the telling tale was, okay, who's the host? And then we get Corey Graves, Caleb Braxton. You're okay. This is the second half of the, I don't know. To each its own. I hopefully you guys didn't get kind of caught up like I did, but just to have that little line of communication there, I think it's so fucking critical, But to each its own. But yeah, if they could have tweaked that just a little tiny bit and saying, hey, stick around because the second half, is coming up. Keep it right here. I would have greatly appreciated that. Keep me in the loop because I went from having a nice smiley face to what's going on, and I wasn't upset. It was like, what the hell's going on here? The other thing that was kind of a nuisance, I felt a little bit, again, to each its own. I felt that there was just way too much of the pre-recorded audio chants. For me, it was just a bit too overkill. Love WWE. Hey, look, when they doing some stuff right, I give them their praise. I try to give that constructive criticism when I feel, they doing some shit kind of, this could be better. But for me, especially with the whole Titus O'Neil, you deserve it. I'm like, really? We're really going to go in with it was just a bit overkill at many parts. I'll say this. It seemed as though it was a bit overkill during the first half of the Hall of Fame ceremony. However, the second half, it seemed as though maybe they kind of dialed it back just a little tiny bit. Now, I've got to revisit something that I talked about a couple of years ago, and it basically stemmed from when the Hart Foundation had got inducted into the Hall of Fame. Now that I've put that out there, I'm sure there's probably some of you that know exactly where I'm going with that, and you may remember very well because this is usually our yearly tradition, talking about the Hall of Fame ceremony and everything. By the way, this is night 2 of 8 as far as our whole WrestleMania week coverage and all that. So for the next 8 consecutive nights, your man here is going to be live and we're going to be talking any and everything, pretty much WWE. We got a little bit of AEW that's going to slide in there as well, but you know how it always is when it comes to WrestleMania week over here. But this is night 2 of 8 that we're doing for you guys. But remember back to the Hall of Fame ceremony. This ties in to this year's ceremony, so stay with me for those of you that aren't really sure where I'm going with this. Get you guys caught up to speed. I talked about on that Hall of Fame post show and the knucklehead had did his thing with Bret Hart and everything, tried to attack him and all that. And I remember passionately coming onto the post show and I remember saying, fuck it, that's it. We just need to be done with it already. We need to be done with fans in attendance. Just let it be immediate family members, members of the press media. That's pretty much it. Forget about it. And I remember that had ruffled a few people's feathers the wrong way. Hell, I even remember a podcaster. The name escapes me right now. It legitimately does. Otherwise, I would mention without any problem. But I even remember a podcaster or two that essentially heard what I had said about, don't have the fans be there in attendance anymore, just cut it off, blah, blah, blah. And I remember how they had said, that was like stupidest idea that you could put out there because you're missing out on some serious money right there. Like, no, you shouldn't do that. You spent all these years making it be available to the public, monetization, right? You're monetizing off of it, right? And to now just cold turkey and how you going to make up that lost revenue, that's essentially part of WrestleMania weekend and all that. And that was something at the time that I had seriously thought about. I did. And it was so long ago, I can't remember exactly what I said on that post show, but I know with a passion I had said they just need to be done with the fans already. I don't know if I said it on that post show as well, or if maybe I said it on another show, but I remember even saying something along the lines of, okay, you know what? Let's do a better job in expanding the vicinity of, okay, here's where the people are going to be ground level wise, where, where they're going to be giving the speeches, the whole induction and all of that, and let's move the regular fans, let's move their seats to about, right here. That way you don't have a similar situation like what happened there with Bret Hart and everything. And I kind of got my wish. I wish it would be under totally different circumstances, but I got my wish as far as no fans, right? You know the old saying, be careful what you wish for, right? So I got to tell you, keeping that in mind, now that you all have the full context, it just felt so naked. It just did not feel the same without the fans in attendance. Most importantly, without the people that were being inducted this year, their families, being able to talk in front of their families, their loved ones, their colleagues, coworkers, and all that. It just felt so naked. It felt like something was just totally missing. You knew about it. The fans in attendance, their natural reaction and everything, it just really left you going, yeah, nah, we need to come back to normal. We need to be done with this pandemic already and get back to fucking normal already and let things be back to how it was before, That was really the most glaring thing that stood out to me the most, was just the lack of presence, doing the whole virtual thing. Everybody is basically, for the most part, I wouldn't say it was half. I would actually say out of 100%, I would actually say that you had about probably 60% of folks that were being inducted that were actually there. And you had about a modest, I would even maybe boost that up to about 70%. 70% of the people that were inducted were there. Yeah, that seems like a bit of a more accurate number. 70% of the folks inducted were there. They were at the podium giving their speeches. Meanwhile, you had 30% that accepted their induction via virtually and everything. Now, you guys got to forgive me because I know some of you guys, you're used to watching the Academy Awards, and so you guys have already gotten accustomed to how they've been doing these ceremonies virtually. This for me was the first time since the pandemic. This was the first time for me that I actually sat down to watch some type of a award ceremony that I have to remember in the back of my mind, okay, we're probably going to be seeing a lot of virtual presentations and all that. I thought WWE, under the circumstance, I thought they did fairly well. I definitely got to say that. I thought they did pretty well for what they did for the most part. Nothing scandalous, nothing salacious, nothing, WTF came from this ceremony. I tell you what, I wish Batista would have been there. I know Batista, there was just no way he could, but I wish that Batista would have been there. However, at the same time, I think it's kind of cool the way things had played out, because as we went into the second hour, like I said, the first hour, NWO was the main headliner. I don't think anybody doubted NWO was going to be the headliner. I think what a lot of people were trying to figure out was, okay, who's going to close out the Hall of Fame ceremony? And by process of elimination, with Batista out, a lot of people were under the impression, okay, NWO. On the contrary, if you want to get technical, yeah, they were the main headliner, But you could also, two things can be true. Yeah, they were the main headliner or co-main headliner, but at the same time, they were the headliner for the first half of the Hall of Fame ceremony. As Kane was the headliner, he pretty much closed out the whole thing during the second half of the Hall of Fame ceremony. So I think that it was actually a pretty cool thing, when you kind of stop and think about it in retrospect. No Dave Bautista. Okay, well, no Dave, and pretty much Kane essentially got elevated. Did he not? I mean, when you really stop and think about it, he did get elevated when you think about it. So it was pretty good. It was pretty good, I would say. Production wise, everything was good. Everything was good. That under the circumstances they did good. But you know what? To WWE, let's get back. Hopefully 2022, knocking on wood. This COVID, the numbers and all that, it can just be extremely low to zero, and it can just be normal again. And because I do miss the fans. I never thought I would ever see myself in a position where I yearned for the people at the podium to be able to feed off of that energy that they're getting while they're talking to an arena packed full of people. You feel where I'm coming from? Let's jump into some of the stuff that happened tonight. This isn't long-winded or anything like that. We're pretty much going to be in and out. Oh, we're pretty much going to be in and out of here because we're coming right back Wednesday night. Let's see. Let's go to the first half here. So the first inductee, JBL, John Bradshaw, Layfield, pretty good. Gave a pretty good speech. I love the fact that a couple of times he name dropped Eddie Guerrero. I love the fact that he did that and talked about how he wished Eddie was around today and everything. And that was pretty nice, pretty touching to hear. I was a little bit surprised too, because I thought for sure that with JBL, pretty much okay, he's kicking it off. Okay, cool. I thought for sure we were going to be seeing Ron Simmons as his inductor. And I was quite taken back that Ron Simmons, now I could be mistaken, but I believe it's either WrestleCon or another wrestle event that's coming up. Ron Simmons is actually supposed to be participating, doing a meet and greet and everything. He's actually supposed to be participating that weekend. So I was trying to figure out, okay, well, how come Ron couldn't, what's going on there? I so thought Ron Simmons was going to be there and he was going to say some things about JBL and everything, but, it wasn't the case. JBL had no inductor. It was pretty much just Jerry Lawler setting up the presentation clip and then introducing JBL. JBL comes out there, gives his speech and everything, and nothing really stood out to me as far as JBL's speech. And I do want to let you guys know up front that as far as speeches go and everything, for me personally, as far as who had the best speech of the night, and I think a lot of people will definitely agree, I think RVD had the best speech of the entire night. If I were to go with a second place, like a distant second, I probably would go with, just looking at the list here, I actually would probably go with Titus O'Neil, actually. Believe it or not, I actually would go with Titus O'Neil. And I'll expand upon that thought more as we continue on with the show. JBL, very brief though, very, very brief, only spoke for a couple of minutes, and nothing really truly had stood out to me about his speech. I will say this about JBL though. I know he gets a bad rep. A lot of people want to look at that particular time when he was a WWE heavyweight champion, when he was a main eventer and everything. folks want to look at that particular period and say, well, you know what? He wasn't financially the most successful champion in WWE. You know, when you look at the numbers and all that. And you know what? You could find whatever evidence to back up that argument. But for me personally, having lived through that particular era of the WWE in real time, I gotta tell you, as a WWE fan back then, that was a very exciting time. A very exciting time because, man, when we got that new JBL, we all were just taken back by that. I can always remember coming to school the next day or after the weekend and getting with friends and talking about the shows and everything, and then reminiscing. Oh man, what about that? Blah, blah. And I just remember for a lot of us, man, JBL. He's like, oh man, he's no longer with Farouk. And I remember at first when we saw this new Texas, Dallas $1 million man type of persona, we're going, let's see what happens. And after we saw how he was rolling for the first couple of weeks, a lot of us had really got behind it. We were like, okay, all right, this actually looks very promising. Let's see what he can do here. And I mean, he had some damn good matches as a world heavyweight champion. I still remember the whole JBL cabinet too, man. Jillian Hall. Jillian Hall was part of it. Kurt Hawkins, if I remember it right. Kurt Hawkins was part of that JBL. Whoa. Sorry guys. I got the fucking Kane slow chemical J that keeps fucking playing. But no, yeah, that whole cabinet thing that he had going on, I actually had enjoyed that. I actually thought that was pretty fucking cool and everything. But now JBL, for what it was worth, contrary to how some people, will put a different kind of spin on his time as champion and everything, it was definitely memorable. I personally feel. Let's keep it moving along. Georgia Smith, Diana Smith, Davey Boy Smith Jr., they were out next, accepting the induction on behalf of their father, or if you're Diana, her late husband, Davey Boy Smith, the British Bulldog. I was looking forward to seeing each of them take turns talking. That did not happen. The girls just pretty much one to the left, one to the right. Davey Boy Smith Jr. was the one that was doing all of the talking. For me, the real MVP of the whole speech was Buffy, the British Bulldog. What a cute dog, man. I was loving that dog. I just kept looking at the dog the whole time. But the fact that the dog's name was Buffy, that for me was the most hilarious thing about it all, was that the dog's name was Buffy. And I mean, man, when you look at Davey Boy Smith Jr., I mean, look, not for nothing, I've seen him off and on over the years in the independents and doing a lot of work for the MLW promotion and everything. So I'm used to seeing him on a regular basis, but I'm sure for those that maybe don't make their rounds checking out the other promotions and everything, and maybe for some of you that was your first time seeing Davey Boy Smith Jr. or first time in years seeing him and everything, but tonight you were just really, really taken back by the fact that, wow, this young man, David Hart Smith, you go, man, he looks so much like his damn dad. He looks so much like him. The resemblance is just unfucking canny. It really is. It's unfucking canny. And your guess is as good as mine as far as ultimately what the future may hold for Davey Boy Smith Jr., for the young man, as far as whether or not we're going to be seeing him in the WWE universe. I don't know. Anything can possibly happen. I hope so. I mean, you want to talk about really coming back full circle and everything. I would love to see him come on in there in the WWE, whether it be with NXT or he's helping out with the NXT UK division. I definitely, yes, 100% yes. If you ask me straight up, yeah, I would love to see him involved in the WWE. I think it all just really depends on, what's going on with him currently with regards to, any litigation, paperwork wise. Is he tied up with any other promotions? And you know what, even if it was a case where he wouldn't be able to do anything with WWE right now, I mean, he would be a great pickup for WWE without a shadow of doubt. I also wouldn't mind seeing him get picked up by the NWA. I mean, NWA could definitely use more star power, especially now that they're doing that whole thing with Fight TV, and they're expecting you to cough up $5 for a subscription, right? You want to watch NWA Power? Yeah. Cough up $5, and it's like, okay, well, as it stands right now, I mean, look, not for nothing, we got Pulp, right? Think about it. We got Pulp, D'Angelo Nero, we got Fred Rozier, Darren Young, we've got who else we got over there? We got Tyrus, we've got Aaron Stevens, Damian Sandow. We've got, I was getting ready to call him Magnus, Nick Aldis. Camille is coming along. She's doing fantastic. We've got Thunder Rosa. We got Melina. We got Trevor Murdoch. Trevor Murdoch is fucking... We got Chris Adonis. We just got Chris Adonis. So they got James Storm. Time to time, we got James Storm. So, I mean, it's a nice little what they got going on, but ain't nothing wrong with expanding that portfolio even more to the point that, hey, we know we're asking you guys for $5, but look, on a weekly basis, this is what all you get. You feel the point that I'm making? So if it was a case where, Davey Boy Smith Jr. couldn't do something with WWE, I think NWA would be the next best fit. But I think only time will tell as far as what's going on. But this is a long time coming. I mean, this is something that honestly should have happened a long time ago. And just to think that in 2021, you're like, wait a minute, Davey Boy Smith Jr.? Wait, huh? He didn't go in the Hall of Fame yet? Like, huh? That's a misprint, right? Somebody's ribbon, right? Surely he already went in. I'm glad he finally went in. Long fucking overdue. Long overdue. Let's see. Jushin Thunder Liger was our next inductee. Love seeing the video package for him. Particularly from the standpoint, I pretty much knew of all his contributions to the wrestling industry. Definitely to New Japan, definitely to the early days there in WCW under the Bischoff regime and everything. But I think it was just great to really sit back, watch the video package that they put together for the fans, particularly doing it in a way where, for those that's not familiar with the work of Jushin Thunder Liger, here's what you need to know. This is why this guy's going in. I love the fact that, besides them mentioning WCW, they mentioned, hey, he had fantastic matches with Rey Mysterio, with, Dean Malenko, with Eddie Guerrero. I love the fact that they name drop those cats, that way, you create that nice domino effect when you stop and think about it, because when you do stuff like that and you got a whole bunch of new people that maybe for the first time, they're checking out the WWE network via Peacock, right? They're gonna say after the ceremony, okay, let me look up some more of this Jushin Thunder Liger. They said something about Eddie Guerrero, Dean Malenko, Rey Mysterio. Hey, if you can keep people in that, on that Peacock, if you can keep them in there longer, yeah, boost that retention time and all that good shit. Jushin Thunder Liger, another thing that was really cool too, he joined virtually, And I mean, my man only talked for like about probably, I would say, barely 2 minutes tops. Barely 2 minutes tops he spoke. But I love the fact that he said, hey everybody, hey WWE Universe, this is Jushin Thunder Liger from New Japan Pro Wrestling. And I just smiled when I heard that, because I'm like, yeah, make sure you get that New Japan. Make sure you work that in there. Like, nice. I'm like, that's nice. I love the fact that he tried to speak just a tiny little bit of English, like out of 100%, maybe about 5%. He tried to speak in English just to show that respect to the English audience. But most of his speech, was it even a speech to those of you that watched it right along with me? Would you even say it was a speech? It really wasn't a speech, was it? Because he only spoke for like less than 2 minutes. But he spoke in his own language, and I love the fact that WWE just let him speak in his own language, and they just had the English subtitle that was doing its thing. With regards to the subtitle, I need for WWE to get a better hang of that. Now, see, when you watch NXT, they do a fantastic job of, when that person is speaking in their native language, it's not just talk and then throw up some text, don't give you a chance to read the motherfucker, and then boom, pull it right off. They leave it on there just long enough. Okay, we know you read all that. And then they slowly bring on the next batch of text. For Jushin, it was very, as you're trying to read it, they've already moved on to the next thing and everything. Nothing special about his speech, sadly, other than getting in that little New Japan little spot. There was nothing that stood out about his speech. And I'm not being a dick to you guys. I'm not being lazy. I really mean that. It was essentially, hey, WWE, thank you so much. Hey, it's a great honor to be accepting this Hall of Fame induction. I want to thank you all. Thanks again. I mean, it was like literally pretty much, just like that, right? I know some people would kind of look at Thunder Liger going in and be like, but like he didn't really. Well, I mean, you can look at what he did there for WCW, right? You could definitely look at that part. And then remember, there was a couple of years back there where WWE, they had came pretty damn close to working out some type of a deal. I don't know if you guys recall, but they had came pretty close to working out a really cool deal where they were going to have access to Jushin Thunder Liger for a series of weeks, while he was in the middle of or getting ready to start his farewell retirement tour and everything. And I don't know what happened. That'd be actually something kind of fun to revisit, and try to get all the information together and see what happened or what did not happen. But I don't know if you guys remember, it was a couple of years ago, and there was rumblings that WWE was very close to inking a deal there where they were going to have access to him on a short-term basis and everything. But for whatever respected reason, it just fell apart. And if I remember it right, he did do a match. I want to say he did a match under the NXT umbrella. And you know what? I almost want to say, as far as who was the opponent that he faced or was gonna face, for some weird reason, I don't know why I'm thinking this, but I've got either Fandango or Tyler Breeze running around in my brain. I don't know why that is. And if you can actually bear with me for a quick second, because I'm actually looking in my notes here on my iPad, and usually I'll type in some stuff that I think is kind of noteworthy. And I did recall it right. I did recall right. 2015, he had a match against Tyler Breeze at NXT TakeOver Brooklyn. And according to New Japan, WWE had approached them about bringing Liger in for the event as a special guest for the show. And then, but they also tried to see if they could get some more, matches out of him as the urban legend goes, but it didn't happen. And pretty much as a way of saying thanks, New Japan, for loaning us Jushin, how about we have him go into the WWE Hall of Fame, so, now you kind of understand the inner workings of how that all had pretty much came about with Jushin and everything. Next up, we had William Shatner. That for me was the hilarious one of two of the night. Hey, you guys been enjoying the show so far? If you have been, please do me a huge favor. If you haven't done so already, I see we had got a new subscriber just a couple of minutes ago. I ain't gonna even try to pronounce that handle too, because it looks so... Oh, that looked like a tongue twister too. I'm not gonna even try to pronounce that name. But if you guys been enjoying yourself so far, do me a huge favor if you haven't done so already. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Click on the subscribe and click that bell notification so you don't miss out on all the content comes your way on a weekly basis. In this case, multiple times this week. We're going to be on, as again, this is night 2 of 8. We're on for 8 consecutive nights. Everything pretty much goes into next Monday, as we'll be live covering the Raw after WrestleMania Fallout. But William Shatner, his was hilarious. That feeling when you are out of beer. I knew I should have grabbed one more bottle. That sucks. So they do the whole, William Shatner thing. And I got to tell you, it was hilarious seeing people react to William Shatner on social media. It was so hilarious seeing people, who? What? Why? That's funny. William Shatner, get the fuck out of here. Why? And it's like, okay, rather than bitch, complain and try to make fun, why not educate yourself and actually go on YouTube, Daily Motion, and Bing Google search and actually look up the research there, with William Shatner and everything, and you'll kind of understand why he's going into the celebrity wing division of the WWE. So I thought the little video package that they put together, they didn't leave anything out. I mean, and really when you stop and think about it, pretty much the same information that was out there about William Shatner the minute that it was announced he was going into the Hall of Fame, and what WWE and other websites had pretty much wrote up about William Shatner and everything was mirrored in the video package. They didn't leave anything out. I mean, especially the whole infamous when he guest hosts WWE Raw. The little bit that they showed there, I mean, it really does not do it justice. If you have not by now gone out of your way and looked up on YouTube or Daily Motion, William Shatner sings WWE themes, you really need to go out of your way and watch the full 2 to 3 minute clip, because I remember just in real time watching that episode of Monday Night Raw, and when that particular segment came on and William Shatner was doing this thing, I mean, I died. I was in fucking tears. My friends were in tears. We thought that was the most hilarious fucking shit we ever saw in our lives. And it was just something that just continued to grow. I mean, way before memes and all of that shit became a thing. Just what William Shatner had did with that particular segment, that shit just it just lived on and on in infamy. William Shatner, though, I don't know if he had told WWE, look, I'll give you the first 30 seconds free, but like every 30 seconds on, I'm gonna have to charge you guys like $5,000. I don't know what it was, but William Shatner just basically comes on virtually. He's talking for like a max of, no bullshit, 60 seconds. I mean, and pretty much his promo or his speech, if you even want to call it that, it's just pretty much, oh, WWA, Universe, thank you so much. I'm from Montreal, and a lot of wrestling legends came from Montreal, so I've always been fond of wrestling. You all know some of the things that I've done, particularly to Jerry Lawler, my biggest claim to fame. Thank you for this induction. I humbly accept. I mean, it was pretty much just like, and I mean, he was in and fucking out. I mean, you'd be lucky. You'd be lucky if that was scratching at about 50 seconds. I just kind of felt like, and look, not for nothing, and I gotta be consistent here. Because off and on over the years, I've brought this up. I remember one of the last few times I had covered the Awesome Con event in Washington, D.C. It's basically kind of like a Comic Con event, if you will, a little mini Comic Con thing. Now, I remember one of the last times that I had covered it, I was talking to some Trekkies. And I remember the discussion came up about William Shatner. And I remember it was interesting because what started off as like me just talking to this little small group of Trekkies, it expanded to like people that like, you know, were admiring the Trekkie costumes, but then kind of overheard what we were talking about and then threw in their 2 cents as well. So it was like this group discussion of like consisting of like me and a grand total of like 5 other people basically. And the topic came up about William Shatner. And one of the things that was said was, oh man, I remember I saw William Shatner out in New York a couple of years back. You know, I was trying to participate in his meet and greet, you know, his Q&A and all that. And I can't remember the amount of money that the guy paid now, but it was in the thousands. And basically, the way that they had it set up, Shatner was just trying to like get as much nickel and dime as possible. These guys, they felt that, you know, his prices were just astronomically fucking ridiculous. The Q&A was bullshit because, you know, all he talked about was the projects that he was working on. He didn't answer fans' questions. You know, it was just pretty much consumed with just, you know, how he's working on this, how he's working on that. He just did this commercial and, you know, and that pretty much was it. So the people that I was chatting with, you know, they felt very slighted and everything. And so, you know, kind of keeping that in mind, the ridiculous prices and all that, I really would not be that surprised if William Shatner might have said something along the lines of, look, I'll say a little something. I'll take the induction. Appreciate that. I'll say a little something, but if it's going to go past XYZ, I got to charge you guys. I would not be surprised if it kind of went somewhere down that road, just kind of based off of those conversations I had with some of those Trekkie guys. I would not be surprised. Anytime you're able to essentially alienate, kind of irritate a Trekkie fan, that's not good. That's not very good. Not very good whatsoever. Let's see. Who was next? The Legacy Wing was next. Again, we're talking about the first half of the Hall of Fame ceremony, and we're pretty much almost done with the first half before we move on to the second half. The Legacy Wing, following people are part of the Legacy Wing: Ray the Clipper Stevens, Brickhouse Brown, little Brickhouse Brown, Dr. Death, Steve Williams. That one surprised me. I thought for sure the Mid-South USF alumni, I thought for sure he was already in some type of Legacy Wing already for the WWE, if not, was already in the Hall of Fame ceremony. I thought he was already inducted, but to hear Dr. Death, hey, I fucking love that. I was down with that. Baron Leon, Gary Hart. Gary Hart, that for me, I had to do a double take. Gary Hart, because I'm like looking at some of these names. I'm not going to lie to you guys. Some of these names is like, kind of heard a little something about, I didn't really hear nothing about you. I'm sure you were great, but I didn't really hear nothing about you. I'll research you though, but I don't know nothing about you. So last thing I'm going to do is lie and try to put on a front. Like, you can get caught up in a lie that I always believe in transparency. But Gary Hart, now I know about Gary Hart. That's a manager. When I was growing up as a kid, I knew about Gary fucking Hart. And for me to hear that he wasn't even 2021 and Gary Hart is just now getting some type of nod from WWE. I mean, you think about the golden years there from 82 to 85 with World Class Championship Wrestling. The infamous feuds there with the Von Erichs and the Fabulous Freebirds. One of the best fucking times in the sport of pro wrestling. And you just think about Gary Hart and the people that he fucking managed. It's like, god damn, this motherfucker had a who's who of people that he fucking managed and everything. To hear that this fellow Chicago native, I'll say Chicago native, to hear that he wasn't in the Hall of Fame yet. Well, I'm glad it changed tonight. That really had put a big ass smile on my face. Also, what he did for the Georgia Mid-Atlantic, Jim Crockett Promotions and everything. Love this dude. I love me some fucking Gary Hart. Big time. Love me some Gary Hart. You all don't know nothing about Gary Hart. You need to fucking look him up. You need to fucking look him up. He was a damn good fucking manager. Let's see, rounding off the legacy wing. Yeah, that pretty much was it. So it was Ray Clipper Stevens, Brickhouse Brown, Dr. Death, Steve Williams, Baron Leon, Gary Hart. Bellas were up next. I gotta be honest with you guys. I'm gonna sound very vague. I'm gonna sound very crude. You've come to know me by now. What's the Show Creed motto since 2011? Keeping it honest, keeping it insightful, keeping it interactive. This is the part where I be honest with you guys. As soon as the Bellas vignette began to air, I looked at my girl and I said, no bullshit. I said, this is the part where I go use the bathroom. And she goes, damn, really? I said, yes, this is the part where I go use the bathroom. She's like, you don't want to hear what they have? No, I don't want to hear what they have to say. And I followed it up with her and I told her, I said, I have been saving my bowel movement all day for this moment. No bullshit. No bullshit. I wish I was trolling you guys. So, as you know, most of our longtime listeners know, I'm a type 2 diabetic. And so my medicine, to each its own, but for me, a lot of times when I take my medicine, I keep running to the bathroom. And I'm usually doing number 2. So this go round, we had just got done eating. And I don't even think a half hour went by, but I had immediately took my medicine as I was eating my dinner. And, usually once I take that medicine, within like a few minutes, it starts kicking in. But I already had bowel movement. Like, I was supposed to do something earlier in the day. I didn't want to do it, though, because I was not trying to use the bathroom at work. I just was like, yeah, I'm good. Like, quick side note, I don't know about you guys, each its own. You got to use the bathroom in public. You care a great deal about that tissue, man. First of all, you want to make sure that tissue, you got to make sure that tissue does not get all wet and it just leaves all this residue on your hand. Y'all know exactly what I'm talking about. Just do the water test. Just, you're not sure about a piece of tissue out in public. Just take a square or two, put it on your hand, palm of your hand, go run some water over it, and then just go like that. Now, if you're able to just gently do that and you got particles all over the place, you know, for us guys, that's an epic fail. We want to be as clean as fucking possible. So the tissue I had dealt with at work, again, I didn't do anything. I was going to. I'm looking at the tissue though, and I'm like, oh yeah, this ain't going to work. I might as well hold it till I get home. So I'm eating dinner. I'm still holding it. You know, I don't have like the urgency to go. But then the Bella twins come on. I say, yeah, now's a good time for that bowel movement. So yeah, your man over here, I don't even know what the hell they said. I don't care. I don't care. Sorry, Bella fans. Sorry, you know, nothing personal, but yeah, you can hate me. It's all good. It's all good. I skipped the fuck out of that. That's about as nice as I can get with regards to the Bellas. Next up, Titus O'Neil. Again, for me, I felt Titus O'Neil, other than RVD, I felt Titus O'Neil had the second best speech of the night. We're going to differ on that. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion. Right now, you're tuning in to me. You obviously want to know what I had thought. Those are my thoughts off the break. Titus O'Neil, I got to follow up on what I had said on the show just the other night, which was, you know, hey, look, Titus O'Neil, he's going in and everything. You know, he's the recipient of this Warrior Award and everything. I can't hate. I can't. And after the passionate speech that Titus O'Neil gave tonight, you know, I still, you know, I know that there's some people that's quite upset, but you know, I wouldn't be surprised that there were people that were a bit upset, a bit irritated with Titus getting it, but I would like to believe that maybe those minds changed once they saw the video package setting him up and then hearing the man in his own words and everything. I don't know if it really had came across on TV well enough for you guys, but this is a man that is very religious. Very religious. You know, he believes in God and everything. And, you know, this is a man that wears his heart out there on his sleeve. And I mean, he is grinding. He is grinding big time. You know, a lot of the stuff, just kind of follow up on what I said on Monday Night Show. You know, there's a lot of stuff that Titus does behind the scenes that we as fans, we only get a little bit of a fraction of, just a fraction, like out of 100% for a whole calendar year. There's about maybe 10% of the stuff that's advertised that Titus O'Neil is doing that we happen to know about because at some point, you know, either he's promoted it on his social media feeds respectfully, or WWE has brought it to fans' attention through their social media feeds and all that. But that's just a mere 5-10%. That overwhelming 90%, there's just so much this guy does. I mean, he's right up there with Mick Foley. Mick Foley, there is so much that Mick Foley does behind the scenes that a lot of people do not know about. As far as the numerous times that Mick Foley has graciously donated money to some type of a worthy cause, you know, it's unsung, you know, and Titus O'Neil is definitely one of those unsung heroes that constantly is doing stuff for various communities. The Boys and Girls Club. You know, look, as far as I'm concerned, anybody that continues to do work for the Boys and Girls Club, they're definitely all right in my book, because let me tell you something, this is real fucking talk. I can remember being a little kid growing up on the rough side of Chicago, you know, in the projects and shit. And I can remember, you know, I can remember being at an age where, you know, not really having that many friends. constantly getting into fights with other kids, getting suspended left and right, not really doing my homework, just a badass, just a fucking badass. And, one of the things that my mom did, she said, okay, you know what, you need something to do after school. You need to be around kids that are not trying to fight you. You need to get some type of structure. And I'll never forget when she took me, we went around the corner and we had went to a Boys and Girls Club. She got me signed up for it and everything. And boy, I tell you, I mean, that was a lifesaver for me. I can't tell you how instrumental the Boys and Girls Club was for me for those first handful of years. I definitely would not be the man that I am today if it wasn't for a Boys and Girls Club that was around. So to hear someone like a Titus O'Neil that's constantly doing a lot of work, giving money and all that to the Boys and Girls Club, fucking they all right in my fucking book, man. Definitely. Got no problem with Titus O'Neil. And just to kind of get you guys a little bit caught up to speed, well, how can anybody have a problem with Titus O'Neil? Like, what the hell? Some people really wanted for the late Shad Gaspard to be the recipient of the award and everything. And it was interesting because I actually was hanging out in a Discord earlier tonight, and some people actually brought up the idea of, well, why not Shad going into the WWE Hall of Fame? Why not actually get an induction? And that's kind of one of those, you got to take a step back and you got to go, wait a minute, was his career really Hall of Fame? And some people had brought up a really good argument, which was, well, not for nothing, but The Godfather and Coco Beware, they were essentially just really a footnote in WWE, and yet they're in the Hall of Fame. So why not Shad go into the Hall of Fame? And I'll leave that to debate for you all. But, for me, when it comes to certain Hall of Fames, when we're talking basketball, we're talking football, we're talking wrestling Hall of Fames, for me, my personal rule, if you throw a name at me, if I even hesitate 1 second, their career not Hall of Fame worthy. Like off the break. Like, nah. So you throw at me Shad Gaspard, WWE Hall of Fame. You see that hesitation? If I even hesitate, that's a no. That's a no. And then, some people actually, well, what about Crime Time? What about Crime Time going into the WWE Hall of Fame? And it's like, oh, well, okay, again, we're talking about a brief footnote in wrestling history and in a certain period of time in the WWE. So Crime Time in the, so that's kind of one of those. Me personally, if I have to overthink, and I have to hesitate, and I'm already going like that, yeah, no, sorry. Now, Shad Gaspard, recipient of the Warrior Award, yes. I don't have to even hesitate. I don't, yes. Yeah, hands down, yes. So, I'm like this, and I kind of like what some people were saying, which was, maybe 2022. Maybe 2022 he'll get it. Once we get past this COVID shit, these deaths that just continue to rise and everything, it's probably still, too raw for his family and, just the wrestling community as a whole to want to, maybe 2022. I'm like this. If he is not the recipient of it in 2022, respectfully, I say to you guys, let it be. Just let it be. Because I think we all can be in agreement of one thing. With regards to the Warrior Award, whether some of you all like it or not, I see the comments that's out there about Warrior and all that. Look, I'm not going to beat that horse to death. Did Warrior say some foul, fucked up shit? Yes. But the main point that a lot of people seem to miss, and they missed the mark big time with regards to all the stuff that he had said. This was before his beautiful daughters came into the picture. When his kid, and before his wife, Dana. So, I mean, once those kids came into the picture, his whole life, 180. 180. His whole outlook, everything fucking changed. You know, what's the name of the brother that is able to convince these members of the Ku Klux Klan, and they felt a particular way about blacks or whatever for decades? I mean, in some cases, 40 years, 50 years, 60 years, and he's able to fucking get them to see the error of their ways, and they don't see the fucking light. Basically, I hate that I just linked Warrior with, but I think you guys kind of get the analogy and where I'm kind of going with that. You know, for different people under certain circumstances, their outlook on life changes. Sometimes that can come in the form of a new love interest. That new love interest, and if they really love that person, their outlook on certain things change. I think I'm a good example of that. Not to put it on me and not to be long-winded, but there was a time where I was very antisocial. There was a time when, no, we're going to do what I want to do, when I want to do. Fuck what you want to do. What you want to do fucking sucks. I was very standoffish. Always getting into arguments, very fucking hot-headed. Now, total opposite. Total opposite. So, you know, and that change, it didn't come overnight, but slowly but surely. Now, the antisocial thing, now I'm just shy. You know, now it's kind of one of those, you know, once I get to know you and I have a regular rapport with you, you know, face to face, you know, then I start my usual self, you know, but like, yeah. And I do a pretty good job letting people know that too, you know. So, I mean, my point, people can change. So, contrary to how some people may feel about Warrior and all that, that always seems to be the mark that they miss. But to my point, the one thing that we all cannot deny, which is at least WWE, and we got to give them a lot of credit for this, they are starting to really take what Warrior suggested, the idea of the award that recognizes the work that the people behind the scenes in pro wrestling, you know, helping out the industry as a whole, really, you know, so to speak, their work is being recognized. And the fact that Titus O'Neil was one of those Warrior recipients, don't have a problem with that whatsoever, as well as who was the second recipient of that Warrior award. You know, it's funny seeing a lot of people say, who, you know, and then we eventually got our answer, and it's like, oh, and so it's really living up to what Warrior was talking about. So you got to walk away and go, all right, well, at least they're trying. At least they're trying. See, NWO pretty much closing out the first half of the Hall of Fame ceremony. It was great seeing Kevin Nash, Sean Waltman /6, Scott Hall. Scott Hall getting grayer and grayer. I mean, man. I was telling my girl, I said, God damn, I'm looking at my own mortality, man. It's like I remember these guys when they were young and robust and just, man, whole world in the palm of their hands, man. It's like, man, be aging right along with these guys. Just, damn, you know. I liked what the NWO members had to say. Really collectively. I think it was really Kevin Nash. His words really stuck to me the most as far as this whole NWO. It really is for life, to kind of follow up on what one of you all had said in the chat, NWO for life. To kind of follow, yeah, it really, really is. To hear Kevin Nash talk about how every time he does a meet and greet, and he's got lines of people that he's getting ready to see and everything, 80% of the people that's in his line, they're wearing NWO shirts. Little 5-year-old kids wearing NWO shirts, and they're doing the little too sweet hand gesture and everything. That really struck home for him and really helped give him with that great clarity. Yeah, man, what we did, that mark we made at the time, and just how it revolutionized, how it reshaped the business and everything, all these decades later. Folks still talking about it, It was awesome. It was fucking awesome. I fucking loved it. I loved it. His really got to me the most. Scott Hall, there was really, and I'm not knocking him, but there was really nothing, I'll have to put it on you guys if you all kind of remember. Scott Hall really wasn't anything there. Sean Waltman seemed very, very fucking humbled. He's got to be riding Cloud 9 right now. He's now a 2-time WWE Hall of Famer with stables and all that. So I'm sure for him that, and you know what? He was a very integral part early on in the NWO. No fucking doubt about it. Definitely deserving of being inducted with the NWO. I know for a lot of people that aren't that with their NWO history and kind of challenge Sean Waltman /Six. Nah, you really need to go back and brush up on your history there. Six was a very integral part in everything. The Hulkster, that was kind of funny. I had to take a couple of jabs at the Hulkster myself because hey, you'll see this on Twitter. I went with the fucking South Park image of the black cameraman that fucking peeked his head from behind the camera. The South Park infamous GGER episode, Wheel of Fortune, basically. And I put a caption over the image, and I basically said, that poor cameraman, every single time Hogan is getting ready to open his mouth. That pretty much was how I was kind of feeling there. Mixed feelings with regards to the Hulkster. Mixed feelings from this standpoint. Number one, longtime listeners know this. A couple of years ago, this isn't long-winded, stay with me. A couple of years ago, I had got, for Christmas, my God, it must have been like a 24 by 36 poster of the Hulkster. Trademark, this was vintage Hulkster from basically the 80s. Ripping his shirt as he's in the ring, signed by the Hulkster himself. My girl paid a couple of $100 for this, and she got it from his beach shop down in Florida. And I just remember at that time when I had got it, I was on cloud fucking 9. I was on cloud fucking 9 when I got it. And then the stupid shit had came out with the whole N-word and all that. You can't see all of my setup right now, but like on the other side of my wall, I just have, you see some of the framed pictures in the background, but over here on this side, I've got a ton of wrestling framed autographs and all that on the wall. That Hogan poster still is not on my wall. I appreciate all the contributions that the Hulkster has made to the business. Really, I do. But I still I still, it's not, I can't let it go. I'm just not at that point where I feel Hogan really understands. You feel where I'm coming from? I as a black man, I still, as a minority, fuck black, just as a minority, I still feel like Hogan, like he does not get it. I haven't really seen much of an effort from him in really trying to be a problem solver, a uniter, if you will. I'm not seeing any of that. You know, yeah, I hear all the right things that's being said. Oh, I was wrong. Oh, Jesus saved me. All that other, I say 3 Hail Marys every day. I pray to Allah. Whatever. But it's the actions that I'm looking for, and I still have not, as a minority, I still have not. So although I can appreciate the contributions that he's made for the industry, there's still that part of me that is still hurt. And I want to have my arms open and say, hey brother, as a minority, hey, I see what you're doing. I see you're trying to be part of the solution. I keep on. But I'm not seeing it. So that poster continues to be in a tube. At one point my girl said, you could sell it. I said, yeah, I could sell it. I could. She's like, but you're not going to. I said, no. I don't know, man. That Hogan thing, that's there's only one other wrestler who I kind of feel, you know what, I appreciate their contributions, but they're a piece of shit in my book. Shawn Michaels. I won't bore you guys with that because that's a long, drawn out little thing. Ask me next Monday if you want me to get into the Shawn Michaels story. Ask me on Monday's show. I'll tell you about that. But yeah, Hogan, I tuned him out. To my point, I tuned him out. The only thing I kind of remember about Hogan and his speech, nothing that I haven't already heard, talking about how he joined the NWO, how Sting originally was going to be the guy, but Hogan pretty much, no, brother, let me get in on that, dude, because there's a lot of money to be made there. I mean, that pretty much was it, but I just, honestly, I fucking cringed every single time he talked. I did not want to hear anything that he had to say. I could care less. And, I'm still thinking about that whole meeting that he had with the talents backstage, and, and just remember how New Day they put out the statement that they put out, Mark Henry feeling how he felt, and it's like, yeah, I'm good, brother. I'm good. So yeah, that pretty much was the first half of the WWE Hall of Fame ceremony. Ran about 90 minutes. Second half of your ceremony, RVD. Again, for me, one of the best speeches of the night, besides Titus O'Neil. RVD having the best speech. I loved his speech. I actually took down some of the notes that he had to say with regards to his speech too. He talked about how he felt as though what he was doing in the ring and everything, and how the fans, really appreciated his work and everything. It really got to him, because at the end of the day, and how he started off and everything, he was a fan. And he shared a very interesting story. I never heard this story from him before either. He talked about how when his dad passed away, like literally the next day, there was an autograph signing. And, this was something that he had planned on doing, but once his dad passed, he wasn't sure if he was going to do the autograph signing. Part of him really felt as though maybe he should just, stay behind, and it was an autograph signing in Chicago too. But ultimately, he went to that signing, and what was so uplifting, what was so helpful to him and in coping with that loss was being able to feed off of the positive energy that he was getting from the other people that were around him at that autograph signing and everything. They filled that void, so to speak, and that's kind of something that always stayed with him as far as trying to gravitate himself towards positive energy. You know what I'm saying, guys? And he talked about how that energy, it's a two-way street basically, and he loved the fact that people loved seeing him, and he channeled that energy back by going in that ring and performing the best to his ability at the highest level humanly possible. He also took the time out to thank the Sheik, Sabu, talked about how instrumental they were in his career, teaching him and everything. Mom and dad, as he graduated high school, had an opportunity go to college on a full scholarship, turned it down to chase something called pro wrestling, and pretty much rest is history. Gave a mad shout out to the early wrestling promotions, particularly the early wrestling promoters that took a chance on him because they saw something special in him, something that was unique. Talked about guys like Greg Valentine and Bobby Fulton that were very instrumental early in his wrestling career, and really kind of showing him the ropes, working with him, doing their best to put him over and everything. A really, really great, very concise. I got to tell you, I wasn't sure what kind of speech I was going to be getting from Rob Van Dam. I got to be totally honest with you. I wasn't sure if I was going to be getting some type of laid back, oh shit, this dude is lit as fuck, half-baked fucking speech from RVD. I wasn't sure what I was going to get from him. So to the point, my expectations, very low, but I came away from this going, wow, what a very concise, heartfelt, sincere speech. This was really the man behind the character, really putting it all out there. I loved it. Even had me laughing. I love the one part where he says, I don't know of a better high than giving a 5-star frog splash. Seems like I would know. That for me was just the line of the fucking night. I fucking died in tears on that one. Yeah. Rob Van Dam, good shit. It's funny too because we're seeing all these little vignettes and everything of Rob Van Dam, and then when he comes out, my girl was watching with me up to this point, and she goes, shit. And I look, I'm like, what's wrong? She goes, what happened to him? I'm like, what are you talking about? Is that Rob Van Dam? I'm like, yeah. And she goes, what happened to him? I'm like, Father Time, hun. Well, how old is he? I'm like, he's 50. He just turned 50. It's like, are you sure? I'm like, yeah. Like, I'm sure his birthday's on December the 18th. Like, he's 50. I'm like, nah. I was like, this guy's been doing this thing for a couple of decades, man. It's like, yeah, Father Time catches up. I'm like, what? You thought you was gonna get the guy that you saw in the little video package? She's like, yeah. I'm like, no. See, she didn't get to see his last run in Impact Wrestling. I know I had talked about it on the show here recently with you guys, and I told you guys it was kind of rough to watch because in-ring wise, it was oof. I mean, he is slow. I mean, yeah, the age gets but he's really slowed down, big time. Really slowed down. It doesn't have that same, when you're watching him, when you watched him in the ring back in the day, the best way I could describe it, it was kind of like, and now when you watch him today, it's basically, so it's little bursts of vintage RVD here and there, but it was kind of rough to watch, man. I don't know. I still think he can contribute to the business. I mean, if you were to ask me straight up, I still think he can contribute. I just think it needs to be a reduced schedule, a dramatically reduced schedule. Sasha Banks, I'm giving her the award for fuck up line of the night. She was among the first to talk about Molly Holly, basically setting it up for Molly's induction next and everything. A few different stars that were being spoken to, left and right. Sasha Banks was one of those people, and Sasha Banks, it was so easy for her, just refer to Molly Holly as Molly Holly or Molly. That's easy to remember. Molly, like the drug, Molly. She calls Molly Holly Holly Molly. And for me, I had to do a double take. I had to go, well, that's new. I've never heard of that person, a Holly Molly. So I gotta look that person up, a Holly Molly. Okay, sure, you're right. And I guess maybe Big E kind of got wind of the fuck up because they went to Big E next. Sasha tried to clean it up afterwards, but it was already too late. The damage was already done. I remember they went to Big E afterwards, and I forgot who was interviewing him, but Big E, he made sure he said Molly Holly a few times. I mean, he was pumping that shit out like it was spearmint gum. Molly Holly, here, have some Molly Holly. You want some Molly Holly on your Texas toast? You want some Molly Holly on your spaghetti and meatballs? I mean, he was pumping that shit out, man. Molly Holly's speech was, it was very, what's the right word I could use for Molly Holly's speech? Molly Holly's speech was, what's the right word? I gotta put it on you guys that saw her speech. One word. What word would you use to describe Molly Holly's speech? I would say it was too well structured. I mean, that's not even a word, is it? Structured. It was. There was something about it that was a little off. I can't quite put my finger on it. You know what Molly Holly kind of reminded me of listening to her tonight with her speech? I was almost kind of under the impression she had dipped into some of the Joker products from the 1989 Batman movie. And just at any moment, she was just going to start busting up laughing. And she was just going to fall on the floor and she was just going to die of laughter. Because, I mean, she just had this big-ass Chester grin on her face. And it was just kind of one of those speeches where I was just kind of going. But then I had to reel myself back and I had to go, well, wait a minute. Isn't she a Mormon now or something like that? So this kind of is aligned to what I'm seeing before my eyes right now. By the way, I love the fact it had me busting up laughing. I love the fact that I was trying to guess Molly Holly's age. And my girl said, oh, Molly Holly, she looks like she's in her early 50s. And I actually whipped my neck. I said, come again? She's like, she looks like she's in her early 50s. I'm like, no, I'm like mid 40s. 43 years of age. Yeah, 43 years of age. I'm like, God damn. It's like, way to make somebody so fucking old. God damn. And you know what? But to the point, maybe that's what was kind of going on there. When you kind of stop and think about it, maybe it just felt a little bit too, the speech. I wish I had the right word for the speech, but the speech just felt very, I think I found the right word. A bit ordained. I got nothing else for you guys. That's the best I can do. Great Khali came up next. I mean, his speech was relatively easy. Double E. And that pretty much was the end of no, seriously. I apologize. I'm bad. I'm terrible. No. Great Khali. He talked for probably about 90 seconds if we were lucky. Thanking the WWE fans. The line of the night that had me laughing, though, Great Khali says, for some reason, I can't be with you all today. And I'm thinking to myself, is it something that starts with a C and ends in a D and has some numbers at the end of it? Like we're just going to dance around that? Like really? We're really going to dance around that after everything that's been going on, especially with talents in the WWE. We're really going to dance around. All right, whatever. But Great Khali, that for me was the line of the night. For some reason, I can't be with you all today. Know that you are in my heart. Like, okay, Khali. Ozzy Osbourne had the second shortest acceptance speech of the entire Hall of Fame ceremony. That shit was hilarious. Look, you ain't got to tell me about Ozzy Osbourne and his music. I know the guy makes great fucking music. I got a big chunk of his fucking music. But anytime I get an opportunity to try to say, what the fuck did Ozzy just say? I'm gonna fucking take advantage of it. I was eagerly anticipating Ozzy Osbourne's acceptance speech because I was ready to just hear. So good to be with you all here today. WWE, really, I appreciate you all giving me the opportunity to be inducted to the Hall of Fame. I just want to, I was ready for that. I was ready for it. And then we get Ozzy Osbourne virtually. WWE Universe, I just want to say, it's like, what a great honor. Thank you so much. I'm like, holy shit, I understand what Ozzy Osbourne is saying. Either I'm getting older, or this dude's actually making a whole lot of fucking sense. Two things could be true, too, but I actually understood every single thing he was saying. It actually put a smile on my face. But no, Ozzy Osbourne only spoke for like 30 seconds. I mean, he pretty much was in and out. I don't know if he and William Shatner got like the same cameo people behind the scenes, but that shit was hilarious, man. 2021 Legacy Wing. Dick the Bruiser. Paz Watley. Buzz Sawyer. Ethel Johnson. I know a little bit about her. She was the first African-American women's wrestler. Also was known for her trademark standing drop kick. You could almost kind of say maybe she was one of the ones that kind of really perfected it and really made that bad boy smooth like butter and all of that. I mean, this girl started getting involved in the sport of pro wrestling at the age of 15, 16. And she was billed the biggest attraction to hit girl wrestling since women's wrestling had began. That says a lot. You got to look at that time period there where she wrestled too, because she basically wrestled in the early 50s. If I remember right, I believe she started around 52. And she pretty much was done by the late 70s. Now, you look at when Mildred Burke was doing her thing. Mildred Burke, I've stayed bringing up Mildred Burke off and on over the years on the show. Mildred Burke was doing her thing in the early 1930s, and she pretty much was done by like 55, 56, basically. And I'm thinking about Ethel Johnson, and she actually has a little bit of ties to the DC, Maryland, Virginia area, because there was actually a match that she did in Baltimore, Maryland, that I recall. It was I know it was a tag match and something else, because she did something with her sisters. I'm kind of drawing a blank right now. She's definitely somebody I kind of researched off and on over the years, because sometimes I'll just be a sucker for some vintage wrestling. I'll just sit up on a late Friday night, a Saturday night, sometime during the weekend. I'll just hop on YouTube and I'll just look up some vintage old school wrestling shit. Like, I'll look up motherfuckers that like most people don't even know about. Like, they've never spoken that name before. They have no idea who that fucking person is. I'll actually look up some people like that. But nice to see her go into the celebrity wing. Let's see. Paul Bosch. Paul Bosch going into the celebrity wing as well. Kind of knew a little bit about him. You know, he started off as an announcer and promoter for Houston Wrestling. But then he was doing stuff behind the scenes as a booker and all that for the UWF, World Class Championship Wrestling, Jim Crockett Promotions, military background, and everything. Shrewd businessman, you know, as they had described him, you know, in the vignette that they did and everything. But he going into the celebrity wing, or legacy wing rather, you know, good pick as far as the 2021 legacy wing. Good picks right there that they went with. Eric Bischoff was up next. Eric Bischoff going in, was happy to see Eazy-E take his rightful place, being solidified in the WWE Hall of Fame. Of all the speeches, this was actually the one I was eagerly anticipating, because so many cool memories I have that involved Eric Bischoff. You know, some of the most what the fuck moments in pro wrestling that just had me jumping out of my seat. You know, just what I just see. It involved Eric Bischoff. So, you know, that for me was nice. It was nice seeing him take his rightful place. You know, he really didn't say anything that was truly, you know, it was nice to hear him kind of bring up the whole AWA and, you know, going from announcer, president of WCW, just talking about the incredible journey, you know, that he's been on and everything. And of course saying, you know, the best is yet to come. And it's like, well, it better come soon, you know, because you're not getting any younger. I mean, that's automatically what I'm thinking there, right? I don't have a brain fart. I'm just kind of reminiscing about Eric Bischoff in the Hall of Fame. It's something, isn't it? When you really kind of take a step back and you think about it. You know, you got so many people that for years upon years upon years upon years upon years, the whole stuff with the demise of WCW and the stories and the manipulations, everything that's been put out there, and trying to put Bischoff in this bad spotlight, and you know, and then you got Russo in there, and we'd be here all night just, yeah, I don't even want to go into that, but you guys get the gist of it and all that. You know, it's really nice to just kind of part the weeds there, you know, get through all that bullshit and just, okay, let's just really at face value look at the contributions that this individual made to the business here. You know, okay, you want us to put NWO to the side? Okay, yeah, we can put the NWO to the side. We can forget that they don't exist for a second. What else you got as far as how Eazy-E was very revolutionary in what he was doing for the sport of pro wrestling at the time that he was most active, that he was at his pinnacle in the business? I mean, there's so much shit that you can go with. Fucking A, man. I'm happy for him. Seriously, I'm seriously happy that he's able to take his rightful place in the Hall of Fame. Warrior recipient for 2021 a guy that's been working behind the scenes for the WWE, Rich Herring. And I know for a lot of people that had them go, who. This guy has been very instrumental behind the scenes in WWE for many, many, many decades. It turns out this man alone was responsible for the fact that WWE, he was responsible for making WWE go from regional, to the global phenomenon that it is today. He pretty much had help, put down that foundation and everything. And I did not know this, but apparently he's a real judge, and he actually married, in storyline, of course, Miss Elizabeth and Macho Man Randy Savage, one of the infamous greatest wrestling moments of all fucking time. Very instrumental, when you learn everything that this guy was doing behind the scenes in WWE, and how he continues to be there, helping out WWE and everything. I mean, when you really stop and you think about this, here is a man that's dedicated over 50 years to his employer. When Vince McMahon Sr. had stepped down, and now Vince Jr. was coming in, Richard Herring made sure that as far as a smooth transition goes and everything, he made sure Vince Jr. was in the best position that was humanly possible. But you talk about dedication to the same employer for all of those fucking years. Yeah, and some people, just from some of the people that actually were reacting to him being the recipient of this award, like online, there's actually a few people that went out of their way to talk about how they had an opportunity to meet him over the years and everything, talked about how sweet, generous man that he is and everything. Good shit. Fucking good. I got no problem with this. And I don't see how anybody else would have a problem with him being the recipient of this award. I mean, how can you shit on that? I mean, seriously. So there's no reason to shit on it whatsoever. Yeah. I was totally fine with that. Good recipient. So again, it kind of goes back to the point that I was making earlier, which is WWE is really starting to fine tune this Warrior Award and really trying to do a good job in making sure that it's going to the unsung heroes behind the scenes, the unsung MVPs behind the scenes, that's, going above and beyond and everything. Totally badass. Main attraction of the night, the big red monster Kane. This for me, I was waiting for this. A lot of us were trying to figure out who was going to be closing out this second half of the Hall of Fame ceremony, and we're going, well, it's got to be Kane, right? Surely it's got to be Kane. And then sure enough, it's Kane. What I would have gave, though, to see Kane in his 1998 outfit, just one more time, just come out in his outfit, come out to the Slow Chemical song. I wanted to see him come out to that batch. It's just one more time. Of all the fucking Kane songs, that one for me was my absolute fucking favorite. Fucking loved it. Slow Chemical. What was that by was that Finger 11? Love that fucking song. Especially when they go to that instrumental part and they start fucking really picking it up and everything. It takes me back to a good time in music, man. It definitely takes me back a little bit. System of a Down. Takes me back to Puddle of Mud. Takes me back to Stained when they were still fucking good. Classic Korn. Good Korn music. I was wondering also if Kane was actually going to be in uniform tonight / costume. Kind of similar to what had happened last go round. I'm sure you guys remember that one. That was funny. You got all those legends there and street clothes, suit, tie, and everything. And Kane was the only one that was in full costume looking at everybody like, oh shit, I got the wrong memo, right? We got Glenn Jacobs. Tux and all, giving his acceptance speech and everything. The one thing that I love about Glenn Jacobs, the man behind the Kane character, I had an opportunity to read his book. And if you guys have not read his book yet, Mayor Kane, you saw me look off in the distance because I was trying to make sure I remember the name of the book. If you guys did not get a chance to read that book yet, you really owe it to yourselves to read it, especially if you're a fan of Kane. That is a book I've read twice now. And when I read it twice, I essentially almost read it back to back. Like after I was done reading it the first go round, I almost went back instantly and, began reading it, for a second time. I would say after I was done reading it the first go round, normally if it's a really good book that I enjoy, I'll read it twice. And normally when I'm done reading it initially, oh yeah, I want to read that again. I might do it within a couple of days or maybe like a week or two. And with Kane's book, I found myself going back to it within like 3 days tops. I had began reading it again. It's a really great story. You really connect to him from a human standpoint, but also to the point that you get in this position after you get done reading his book where you go, all right, everything that I'm learning about this man in the book, surely this isn't what I'm going to be getting in person. And it actually is. And just hearing him and his speech tonight, it just mirrored the personality that you're able to get overall when you read his book. And I mean that in the most highest compliment that's humanly possible. You really come away with that speech that he gave tonight. You just really came away, especially if you read Kane's book, combine the book with the speech, and you go, wow, this really is a humbled guy. This really is just a good old, country boy that, he didn't know no better. He was just chasing a crazy dream. And, who would have thought that, he'd go from sports to wrestling and then get into politics, become a mayor, be a respected author, and just spinning it, all of those things in his speech, and spinning it in such a way where he closes it out by saying, if I can do all of those things, just imagine what you can do. I think that is just so impactful. I think that is so powerful, so inspiring, because people need to know about stuff like that. As soon as you say you cannot, I can't do that, I don't think so. As soon as you start talking like that, you're already admitting defeat. You haven't even tried yet. You're already admitting defeat, right? So you gotta have that perseverance. You gotta have that determination. You gotta have something called courage, and you gotta just see it through. And I really had appreciated Kane's words there in that speech, because if he's able, somebody like him, if he's able to accomplish all of those things that he was able to accomplish, just imagine what you and I can accomplish if we really sit down and put our mind to it, right? Definitely something that I felt could connect to people of all ages, especially whether you want to be a pro wrestler or not. Just taking a lot of those elements that he put out there, you could definitely take that and just run with it. as your own. You know, that really was for the mind, as far as speeches of the night. For the mind, you know, really get you thinking about yourself, where you'd like to see yourself career-wise or just in your personal life and all that. You know, so I would say Kane gave you the speech that's for the mind, and RVD gave you the speech that was from the heart, for the heart. You feel me? So it was pretty good. It was pretty good. Good Hall of Fame ceremony overall, under the circumstance. WWE did pretty good. And when I say under the circumstance, of course, I mean, you know, pandemic, social distancing, and having people participate virtually and all that. They did pretty good under the circumstance. I definitely want to know what you guys had thought about the ceremony. So please continue to sound off, as we're pretty much getting ready to wrap it up. I see a lot of you guys with the comments here. Yeah, Joshua, no. Shaq Gaspard should have gotten it hands down. If we're talking about the Warrior Award, yeah. But as far as going into the Hall of Fame just by himself, nah. Being part of Crime Time, nah, not really seeing that. Kane's speech was good, and JBL and RVD. Sounds like not a very nice Shatner meet and greet. Yeah. Live stream from UK. Oh, you guys in the UK, you guys are what, like 6-7 hours ahead or some shit like that. So shout out to you. Thanks for staying up, checking out this live show. By the way, that was very interesting. That, you know, I was watching the ceremony there on Peacock, and I thought it was so hilarious that after the live broadcast was over, they pretty much just kick your ass out. They say, you know, thanks for watching. You know, I'm so used to, see, this is where I miss the WWE Network, because content just used to continue to play. You know, kind of like when you put on HBO Max. I don't know if you guys put on a regular series that maybe you like to fall asleep to. Like for me, normally I'll fall asleep to the Flintstones, and I will just let it play from the very first episode or of the first season or the second season, and it's kind of like my nightcap basically. And I'll wake up whenever, and it's still. Whereas, and I was used to that with the WWE Network, because there'd be a lot of times where I would just leave it on the network. You know, I'm watching something, fall asleep to it, wake up a handful of hours later, the network is still going. Now, when WWE is done streaming live initially, they just shut that bitch down. You pretty much just gotta back out and go into the VOD section there, and yeah. Hope that new update's coming. I'm looking forward to it. Speaking of which, on that note, we can close this show out. All right, so we got another show in the books. I'm going to be back with you all Wednesday night, April 7th, 2021, as soon as AEW Dynamite and NXT TakeOver Stand and Deliver Night 1 of 2. I'll be with you all this Wednesday night as soon as those shows wrap up. We'll be right here talking about it. We'll sprinkle in some more little tidbits of some wrestling news. Hopefully we'll have news for the better with regards to DMX. I know some of you guys had appreciated, you know, a lot of the things that I had to say about DMX from Monday's show. If you didn't check that out, scoop it up when you get a chance. And yeah, Be Kind Rewind. Check out previous episodes you might have missed on demand and on the downloads, wherever you get your podcast. You can get at me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Use the keywords, the RCWR Show. And until Wednesday night, wishing all y'all to be safe. Most importantly, be kind to one another. I will see you guys in a little bit for our night 3 of 8 coverage. Stay tuned. Peace, y'all. Take care.